Now, this is a really great recipe. Like all great recipes, it sort of came together by accident. Working in a restaurant one day, just had a little bit of feta cheese left over, a little bit of mince. We were looking for a quick little appetizer and came up with this. It works super well because the feta gets crumbled into the meatballs and it adds a sort of a lovely, moist, really cheesy, nice texture. So I'm using a little bit of minced beef here today. You could just as easily use minced lamb, would work really well as well. So you crumble your feta in. When you go to the supermarket, spend a little bit extra on the feta because you often get fetas that are really salty, cheap, nasty, and you'll really notice a big difference in quality if you just splash out that little bit more. Next thing that we're going to add in is a herb, which is mint, and the mint adds a really sort of freshness and nice sort of tangy taste to the meatballs. Really different, something that you wouldn't normally expect, and it's kind of quite similar to sort of Greek cooking this. What I'm going to do is cut up into a julienne. So julienne is just when you roll all the leaves up together into sort of like a cigar shape, and you just sort of run down into a nice thin slice. I'm also, to add another little flavour in there, going to have a little bit of chilli, because the chilli's got that nice sort of really kick that's going to add that lovely sort of contrast to the sort of nice creaminess of the feta and the really nice mint. So thin strips. We're going to do this into a little sort of thin dice. Now these meatballs, you could just as easily serve them up as a little appetizer. They work great as a starter, like little simple dressed salad with them, or little mini ones which would work really well for canapes. And I think what's great about them is it's not your sort of regular dish that everybody expects to see. You bite into that meatball, you've got the lovely mint, the feta, the chili, and it's kind of like an unexpected taste that comes out, and I think most people are pleasantly surprised when they taste them. Next ingredient that we're going to add in there for two reasons is red onion. Firstly, the lovely flavour and the natural sweetness of the onion that'll happen once it cooks, and secondly, it's got that lovely sort of nice red bright colour when you bite into the meatball, and there's also a little element of the crunchiness. Now to bind that all together, a little bit of olive oil, and what's going to happen is the olive oil will actually help bind it but also cook it as we go along. We're going to season that with a little bit of salt and pepper just to keep it nice and simple. And when you're mixing this, you want to be really careful. You don't want to sort of pound the whole thing together, because what will happen then is your whole feta would just mix into the meatballs. We want the feta to sort of stay intact, because when you bite into it there's that little sort of creamy pockets and morsels of feta. Now rolling them together, making sure your hands are obviously really nice and clean because we're working with minced beef. You want to roll them into sort of little balls, depending on whatever sort of dish you're doing. If you're making them into appetizers or canapes, make them slightly smaller. We're going to heat up a pan on a low to medium heat, and we're just going to brown up those meatballs for about 2 minutes. You just want to sort of seal all those great, really pungent flavours into the centre of them. So just flip them over. Don't cook them for too long on the stovetop, and then we're going to pop them into a hot oven at about 180 degrees centigrade, 360 degrees Fahrenheit, and when they come out they're going to be absolutely super delicious. I cannot stress enough that when you bite in there you're going to get that huge explosion of flavours. Absolutely sumptuous mint and feta meatballs.